right, guys. My name is Brendan vs. Reviews, Brendan Rooney. I'm here on behalf of DailyPlanetDC.com. And I'm here today talking with HiTop Films, the one, the only Alex Hunter. How are you doing today, Alex?
I like that intro. I'm blushing. No, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm doing all right today. Just working on the movie as per usual. How are you, man?
I'm really good, man. I'm really good. One thing I want to say is, ladies and gentlemen, we're here to talk about Jason Todd, his fan film Jason, which I saw a rough cut of the film. It's coming out really good, by the way. And also, too, I kind of want to say I owe my kind of career to you as a writer because I found your videos in college and you kind of gave me a voice to where I feel I have the platform I have now.
Way too kind. Like seriously, way too kind. I'm so bad at taking compliments. I always get so like, oh, but no, I appreciate that. And dude, same. It goes both ways. I always say this and I do mean it, but like that love you just shared in that personal experience. If my dumbass can inspire anything and anyone, it's the only reason I keep doing this. So that means a lot. Thank you.
Of course, of
Seeing
course.
work as well, finding the post-production team that we need to give it that extra polish, and working with the different people over, a lot of them aren't in Pittsburgh. We have like a core team of 6 people locally still working on the movie, and that's mostly just like Francesco, who plays Jason, and Johnny, who was the AD and very instrumental in the story, and just these guys I've always made movies with. And then we have the brilliant George Ignitis. George, if I said your name wrong, I'm so sorry. But and then we have Matt Noble doing the score and the sound mix, respectively, and they're cooking up magic, and we're working with various VFX people to give it the final polish. So yeah, a lot of texting, a lot of how's this going, a lot of find this person, and also just honing in on the cut. I think the good thing about I know people are waiting for the movie and it's been a long time and we promised it a year ago. But I think the good thing about the fact that it is a fan film and so independent with no one breathing down our neck is that I get to edit it 1,000 times and make sure at every stage that it's something that I'm proud of and is authentic to not only me, but to the character of Jason. So yeah, a lot of Jason stuff basically.
Nice, nice. So my next question is, what kind of forced your hand to make this? I know a lot of films and stuff haven't really talked about Jason before. I know it's really a lot of Bruce, it's a lot of Gotham, it's a lot of
Mhm.
Joker, a lot of Penguin now. But it feels like Jason, especially in your videos, you always talk about like that loner character, but also you talk
Mhm.
about the introvert in a way. And I feel like Jason is kind of an introvert. And I feel like that
Mhm.
kind of speaks to writers in a way too, because I'm introverted. And I don't know. I'm not trying to throw that out there, say everybody's an introvert, but just speaking from personal
No,
experience. Yeah.
I think everyone, I agree with you. I think that most people, even I think the most extroverted people, like if I'm at a bar at a party, I'm douchebaggishly extroverted. Um, but I think that's to cover up the introverted self. And so I do kind of agree with that sentiment that most people have that introverted side to them. And what forced my hand was kind of this idea of I've always wanted to make this movie since I was 17 years old and graduating high school. We did way long ago. We did a short Robin fan film where Jason was Robin, still played by Francesco, before we knew anything about anything. It's not on the internet. You can find it somewhere, but it's not public anymore. But that was just because we were always drawn to that character for a plethora of reasons. I think I've talked about this in the past, but having grown up in a household with addict parents who, were addicted to substances, and that high and low of that kind of relationship with them, and that having to grow up quick and seeing your parents as people early is the Jason Todd story in so many ways. And also just growing up without a lot of money, which most people do, I feel like, you know what I mean? Is something that you don't really see that often. You have Peter Parker always, as this staple of like the working class superhero. But there's such an interesting idea of you take this poor kid from the worst part of hell, Gotham, Jason, you take him and you throw him together with this billionaire who has always been rich, and that should be the best Robin, but yet people just conceptually, it's the most interesting idea because you have this billionaire who still really can't grow up with this super traumatized kid who used to basically be a criminal, and you pair them together, and that's just fun as hell storytelling, A, but B, it just allows for all these discussions about the idea of superheroes and the idea of Batman as this guy, the go-to always complaint that Batman's just a guy who beats on poor people. And it's like you have this character in Jason Todd that literally can address that and answer that and showcase what does the poor person look like in Gotham. And so we've always wanted to make this movie since 17 years old. And after we made a few more shorts like Plumber, Scarecrow, all that stuff, which was just us having fun trying to hone in our voices, we made the very stupid, silly decision to be like, we're ready to make a feature film. And for our first feature film, we're going to shoot a $1 million script essentially for $30,000, which is fan finance. And I always thank the fans because we literally have made movies for $7 before this. You know what I mean? But um, yeah, it was just a matter of I wanted to do it while I was young. And that's the thing. Like we started actually working on it hardcore. I think probably I was 20 and now I'm 25. We started to really just hone in the script and do all that stuff. And it was like, okay, we're making shorts, we're doing that. And then I was like, but there's something about doing this right now at this point in time. It was right after I think COVID started to settle down a bit when we decided we're going to shoot this movie, we're going to finance it, we're going to do it. And it was because we're all in the same city. We're young. Pittsburgh just so happens to look a lot like Gotham, which is great. Um,
which was very scary, to be honest. Very
yeah,
surprising. I was like, this actually gives a really good depth and a sense of realism to your film.
thanks, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's I got to give credit to the Pittsburgh architecture. It's just perfect. It's there's like literally a Gothic church every other block in the city, which is awesome. Um, But yeah, no. So what drew me to it was the last 5 minute ramble I went on, but also just the fact that I wanted to tell this story while I was young and angry and tell it from the perspective of a young and hungry and longing young man. And I feel like if I had waited and if I was like, oh, I'll sell this script or this is my dream project, I'll make an original independent, all that stuff, I think that I'd lose the very kind of can't speak brotherly connection I have with Jason as a fictional character. I wanted to be in touch with him as an 18, 19-year-old as he is in this film for most of it. I wanted to be in touch with him and in a way that I think I needed to do it now. And it's also, I feel like I couldn't not make it. I was losing sleep over not making it, which I feel like is the best way to know you should make something.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I feel
sorry for
like,
that long
oh,
answer.
no, no, that's a terrific answer. I really appreciate that. I feel it's a sense of that you've always been attached to this character and that this is like your main purpose in life right now to
Hmm.
really elaborate and bring this to the screen, bring this to YouTube where it's going to be. And honestly, having seen the film, it's very much of a character study, kind of like akin to like
Hmm.
what Matt Reeves did and stuff. And I know you're a huge
Hmm.
fan of Reeves's work, but I really like the whole aspect of how it's an unreliable narrator. Yeah, it's showing us Jason as a kid, showing us as a teen, but he keeps chiming in over voiceover, and you're like, where's he talking from? Is he Red Hood? Is he dead? Is he talking as Robin? So it really gives a sense of I know everything, but you don't, and it's playing with the audience. So you're showing, not telling too much, and I truly appreciate that.
Thanks, man. I can say this because this isn't a spoiler because it's in the trailer and it's the first like minute of the movie. But a lot of that what you just said is it's spot on. And when Jason says the bird, the bat, the bullet holes in my life, they feel like a blur. To me, that was a way of dismantling all the things that people on the surface know Jason Todd for, which is he was Robin, he knew Batman, he died. That's the bullet points, the bullet holes. And
Yeah,
then him going on about how it's not really about any of that, that's not what he considers to be like his soul and his character. And that was kind of the starting off point for the whole thing. Because of course, especially when we started, you want to do the Robin stuff. You want to make that Batman and Robin thing. But halfway, I think through writing like the first draft when I was 18, 17 of the script, um, I realized like, oh no, the a really interesting story is about him and his father before he meets Batman, him and Willis and him and Sheila and the absence of his mother and how that affects him as a person. Because I feel like honestly, I feel like so many people know Jason Todd and the media perpetuates this, like his adaptations, that he's just this angry edgelord, the black sheep, the badass Robin. And I feel like that's such like it's unfair to like anybody who's a little bit unsettled and unhinged because of their upbringing and stuff. And so for me, it was very much like, okay, well, the comic books have done a great job of painting these broad strokes for the character. And I felt like the fan fiction element of it, like where I came in our adaptation, was trying to add fine lines from my own life and from people I know's lives, and adding that into this character to make what I believe is very much the guy from Just Another Kid in Crime Alley, the Max Allan Collins. I can't remember the writers. I'm so sorry. No,
Yeah.
he's the
No,
writer. I
you're
can't
good.
remember
You're
the
good.
artist name. But that original Batman, like 428, like the first post-crisis thing where he's stealing the tires off the Batmobile, like I felt like that is the gold blueprint, and so many people only want to do like after the death. They wanted to do either Death in the Family or Under the Red Hood or One E's Red Hood. But I feel like there's such an interesting story to be told before any of that, and that was the jumping off point. I
I've
don't even know how I got to that. I just started rambling. I'm sorry.
no. Hey, sometimes rambles are the best kind of conduits, to be honest, expressing what's going on up here. So
Thanks,
I
man.
appreciate it.
As you've
Yeah.
seen, you've seen my videos, so you know that most of them are
Yes.
just unhinged run-on sentences. And now everyone reading this will know that that's very authentic to who I am. Run-on sentences.
Hey, it's who you are. I really find something genuine, though, is that you're talking about him, his upbringing, and his identity forming, is that you're having the film take place around on Christmas. Like it shows where he's a kid and stuff, and like you set up the frame perfectly, so you just see Jason, but his parents are in the background fighting, and the mom's trying to grab him, trying to hold on to trying to find the words
Wait,
for it. The
sorry,
mom's
sorry, man.
oh,
You're
sorry.
breaking up, and I don't know if it's my headphones or if it's like the connection. Give me one sec. It sounds like Megatron. Like I got some
Yeah,
of that, but then it
yeah. It might be the
here, let me
connection.
try because I have my stupid AirPods on right now, so maybe that's it.
No, you're good.
Now I can't hear anything.
That's okay.
Nothing, sorry. Can you hear
No,
me?
you're good. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, sorry, dude. Let me try switching just the
Let me
headphones. Maybe it's like a
pause.
blue.
Yeah, so like I was saying and stuff, showing the film on Christmas is a great way of expressing that childhood euphoria that Jason honestly was stricken of. And it
Mhm,
feels like where you have the opening scene where it's his mom trying to grab onto her child and show him that everything's going to be okay, the nurture of the mother's love, and then the father coming in just expressing vulgarity, beating her, showing domestic abuse, and Jason's just there and he's unamused by it and he's trying to
mhm,
block it all out. And I really think that brings to the point of in this film, there are mentors, but there's also paragons. And there's also symbolism of Jason realizing that this is my environment, I can get out of it, but something's telling me I want to stay here,
mhm,
leading to the whole eventual confrontation of where he is with Batman. But setting up that message and that imagery paints the picture of Jason's a normal person. He hasn't had anything handed to him. There's a sense of anger there. Yes, like the films and like TV shows and video games portray him as, but it's also a broken shell as well. And that's
mhm,
something I feel the relationship with Roxy really paints is that there was that unrequited love, is that there was shadows where the vignette style where you just see it breaking, goes to the apartment and the holes in the walls, the cigarette butts on the windowsill where he looks out for Batman. There's a sense of trying to escape, but being frozen in his environment still. So, do you want to speak on that?
Beautiful way to put it. I mean, you just summed it up. That you just sold the movie, so now my job's done. Uh, no, but yeah, man. I mean, so as far as the I want to touch on a lot of what you just said because I love what you just said. The as far as like production design of the cigarette butts and the holes, like that was constantly the thing of everything needs to be dirtier, trashier, more covered in dirt and decay and filth. Every single frame needed to have that, or it needed to have that dreamlike, this is a dream or a memory quality. And combining the two was like the weird tone we tried to achieve. But I'm glad that was tangible and noticeable because we spent a lot of time dirtying up everything. Like every outfit has about 42 burns in it. Like every character's thing is like their fits are covered in dirt and rust and all that stuff. Um, but yeah, I think that from the opening scene, I always love the idea that the opening scene is kind of summarizes your whole film in a sense and what it's going to be about. And at the end of the day, the image that's always been in my head is the child Kid Jason, looking out the window while his mom's begging him to look at her and so that she can theoretically say goodbye or say I love you, but he can't. Instead, he's looking towards Batman, this false idea of a savior. He can't face what's really just right behind him because no kid should have to face that, right? Like every kid escapes into Batman. That's a meta kind of thing. Plenty of times where I'm reading a comic book when my parents were getting into it when I was a kid, like that feel like that shot. I'm sure a lot of people will be able to relate to that feeling. But like you said, you have these. The important thing to me was not to make it so universally bleak in the sense of I can't have everyone be as shitty as Willis is in that opening scene. And Willis, even himself, I think, has these moments of kindness, even if they're selfish kindness. He's not completely just an archetypical like F you dad, you know? And he's lived this life. I always like to say that Willis is Jason in 25 years if Jason
Hmm.
didn't have his mom, even for that 11 years before she left, or 8 years before she left. Willis, in my head, this is never explored, so it's fine, but Willis didn't have that love at all. Willis did not have a Willis either. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so we wanted to not give empathy to the abuser per se, but not to make it so universally one note and bleak, and wanted to have there be that banter where in the montage in the beginning of the film when they're stealing cars and stuff, there is like a bit of joy in Kids Jay's face. That was very important to us. There's that moment where they're on the church and he's pointing out and they look like they're smiling and connecting father and son. They're just doing these terrible things essentially. But to them, they're not terrible. They're just doing it to survive. Um, but also, and by that accord, you need some characters who aren't that morally gray, like Angie, Old John, who I love Old John so much,
Yeah.
Roxy, who just are different parts of Jason, but I wanted every character to feel like they're living their own movie. They
Hmm.
have stuff going on. So if you notice in the movie, every character that Jason bumps into is in the middle of their own story, the middle of
Oh
their own
yeah.
life. Yeah. And it's not like they're waiting for Jason to show up so they can drop a line. You know what I mean? If
Yeah.
anything, Jason's the most stagnant character. He's the most still character. He's waiting for people to tell him what to do and how to feel. Because like you said, and I love that you said this, he is a shell in a lot of ways. You see that anger that and you see the wise ass mouth, especially with Willis, that from like the way he's written. But he's
Hmm.
also at this point like so just like filled with sadness. Um, we always talked about how, as you mentioned, the his mom Sheila leaves on Christmas, and I think that it was very important to us that it was never said um verbally that it's been X amount of time since she left. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But I think that
absolutely.
you feel it almost like it's this anniversary thing, and you hear early in the movie, I can say this, I don't mind, like you don't have to
Yeah.
cut,
Go right
this
ahead.
isn't a spoiler, but you hear
Yeah.
early in the movie you hear that the Waynes also died on Christmas. So there's this parallel being set up by this immense amount of trauma, but polar opposites. The rich family gets gunned down in Park Row on Christmas X amount of time ago, and Jason's mother leaves him on Christmas X amount of time ago. And these two kind of very different but souls are connected before they even meet each other. And that was very important to me to not avoid Batman, but to put Batman as almost a religious figure, a savior to a child. And then when he's older, I think it's more of it's not necessarily a fear. I don't think he necessarily thinks Batman's going to come stop him from stealing a car, but it's more disillusionment. Like, I don't have faith in any kind of savior anymore. Like, fuck that signal. You can bleep me if you want, but you know what I mean?
No, you're good. I really think that speaks to like how we perceive superheroes as a kid and stuff.
Hmm.
And when you're an
Yeah.
adult and you look at films, or especially when you look at Batman the animated series, how honestly how jaded the characters were. and how Paul
Hmm.
Dini's writing really set that up and showed you how Two-Face was a broken shell of a man trying to do better. Bruce is still trying to find a void in his life with Andrea, like you said in your video, Batman and the Heartbreak.
Hmm.
There's senses of pieces coming together, but we don't know how to let them in. We don't know how to configure them to fit the puzzle we're trying to make or explain. And I feel having Jason and knowing that, okay, this is the figure I looked up to, but it's more of a disillusionment now as an adult, it kind of speaks to us as adults as well. Okay, these characters used to wear tights and stuff, and we used to read them as comics, but look at how they evolved and they reflect our world now.
Hmm. Yeah. No, perfect. Yeah, I think definitely. And so much of it, I think I think anyone with a kind of troubled childhood or any kind of tumultuous trauma in their youth can relate to the idea of expecting that Batman will save you, even because even if you're old enough to know that it's fictional, right? Like even when you reach like, I don't know, 8, 9, 10, and you know that like that stuff isn't real, you still have that hope like deep into like your preteen years that like, things will work out, good will triumph over evil. And so I think one cool way to connect the audience when making the movie to Jason was to tell a story about someone who believed fully that they deserved to be saved, but now believes there is no saving. And it's such a deeply sad sentiment that I don't agree with fully, but I don't want to spoil the movie. But you'll see what happens in
Yeah.
the movie and what happens and what that is. And sometimes even when you are saved, it's not what you wanted. And maybe the only person who can save you is yourself and your growth and healing what's in there. And I feel like the journey, and if we ever get to make more Jason movies, which I'd love to do, we have 2 and 3 written, ready to
Nice.
go. We'd love to just explore what is that take for him to love himself, because I think to me I think Jason's the best version of himself when he's Robin, towards the end of the Robin, when he's disillusioned a little bit with the way Bruce does things, and right when he's about to maybe be okay with things, I think that's when obviously death in the family happens, and I that's the ultimate tragedy, and the story itself is a tragedy, and that's been heartbreaking to make, but also very therapeutic.
I think there's a perfect sense of a beautiful dichotomy, how Batman prays and uses fear as a sense of trying to cope with his parents' loss, realizing the vow that he took at 8 years old, and then Jason trying to escape by using conflict as his serotonin and his dopamine to get
Hmm.
through the struggles and the moral disconnect that he incurs and that he faces on a daily basis.
No, 100%. I think that I don't know. I guess the audience will have to tell me, and you can tell me how you felt about it. But to me, there's always the thing of like, especially when you get into I guess, the Winnick and the Earl scenes. Um, there's this thing of like, is Jason enjoying this like hustle with his dad?
Mm-hmm.
And is he enjoying it because of, like you said, it's some kind of conflict action dopamine? Or is it also because it's the only time he gets to spend with his dad and it's Christmas and that's his
Perfect
idea of
example.
spending time with his family? And so we always wanted the audience to question how much of Jason is just being dragged along and what amount of him enjoys doing this stuff. Does he enjoy stealing from presumably the rich, expensive cars and taking the money for himself and his dad? Does he believe that's justice? And that's the whole thing that I think that we didn't want to put a bow on an answer, but rather allude towards and allow the audience to kind of project their own sense of moral justice onto Jason. So yeah, 100%.
It's such an ambiguous question too, because Matt Reeves is Batman. Bruce feels that he's trying to do something, and like he even tells Alfred, "I'm doing this for my family." He goes, "You keep doing this, there's gonna be nothing left of you. Everything I'm
Yeah.
doing is for my family." And like how you read and stuff, and I wrote when he smudges the black paint off and the sweat
Hmm.
dripping down. It's kind of like Jason as well. Like you said in the Arkham videos too, is Batman being out in the cold where he should be home with Alfred? He's trying to put a bow on this and say beat the villain, save the day. But inside, what is he really feeling? Is he out there fighting criminals to feel like a
Hmm.
sense of purpose again, knowing that his parents aren't there anymore? And is Jason just being with his father on a hustle to have a sense of a faux pseudo relationship of a father son connection?
Yeah. And I think it's the thing where it's like you see the difference between the hopefully you see the difference between the first kind of jobs they pull when he's a kid in the montage and then when he's old, like one of the first things he says when Willis picks him up is you know what day it is, Willis? Yeah, you get me anything? And they're like riffing, like they're calling each other like
Yeah,
asshole and
yeah,
dickbag and shit. But it's
yeah.
like you can tell there's some real kind of like, dude, I'm like, why can't you acknowledge me as like your son? Like I'm not your hustle buddy, you know? And I think it's taken Jason like 10 more years since mom left to actually articulate any of that he's feeling. And Willis just does not
Oh, sorry.
respond to that. You know what I mean? Willis just is,
Yeah.
he's like, here's another joke. Here's 3%. Ah, kid, you know, drink some booze and keep going. You know, Willis is like the ultimate kind of like toxic father
Hmm.
figure in the sense that he can't, Jason's trying to have like a serious conversation, but Willis will not allow it to go there. And that's
Yeah.
infuriating as a viewer. Hopefully you're like, oh, well, fuck this guy, even though he's funny about Willis. You know what I mean? Like, screw this guy. But
Yeah.
also you're like, just talk to your kid, man, you know?
Yeah. No, but I just want to say, do you have anything else? We're kind of running out of time. That's why.
Oh, dude, sorry. Yeah, yeah.
No, you're
Sorry I
good. You're
rambled so
good.
much, man.
No, dude,
Uh,
you're good, man. You're good.
yeah, I think I just want to encourage anyone who's reading this to create and to translate all the shitty stuff that's ever happened in your life. Translate that, adapt it, and you know, communicate and share. Because I think even if all, like you said earlier beautifully, so many people are introverted and it's hard to express their feelings and it's hard to find a voice. But I just want to assure anyone reading who's thinking about making their movie, thinking about making their fan film, writing their fan fiction, writing their own individual original thing, and you're scared to do it, just do it. Just do it. Because even if one person reads it, you have the potential to change that person's life and you have the potential to connect because I think storytelling is empathy and it is connection. And that's my rant and speech. Also, watch Jason when it comes out. Otherwise, I'm retiring. So yeah,
Well, Alex, thank you so much for your time, man. I truly appreciated this.
of
This was an
course.
incredible interview, and this will be on YouTube, and it's going to be posted to Daily Planet DC by the end of the week in written form. And yeah, anything else you want to say?
No, thank you for letting me ramble and talk for so long. I feel like such I want you to talk more. You know what I mean? I want to interview you, man.
Dude, sounds good. Let's set it up next time.
Yeah, let's switch it. You know, we'll interview you for your website and I'll be the interviewer. You know, I'll be like, oh, this is Alex Hunter, ghost writer, guest writer. But no, dude, this was a blast. Thank you so much.
You make me happy when skies are gray. You never know, dear, how much I love you. So please don't take my sunshine away. Good night.
Oh!